Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about internships and failing. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I have failed my software engineering internship. I feel so sad and overwhelmed. I would do anything to solve the issue which I diagnosed in the first place, but after 2 weeks I just couldn't figure it out. What should I do? Well, I'm I'm a little bit confused. Well, I'm not confused because if you read between the lines, this is not so weird. But since I'm trying to make this into something teachable, a teachable moment, and useful at the same time, I need to give the people who are actually not in the situation and may not understand what's going on a bit of context. So, when you are an intern, for those of you who don't know it, you can find yourself in one of two situations. You can be an intern that has a you have a good internship in a good environment where you get to shadow a software developer, a real programmer. You get support in a similar way to how a junior developer would get support. That's the good internships. Those are the ones that you are looking for. Those, on the other hand, are not the norm in many cases. The norm is the bad version. And the bad version is that you are looked as a disposable resource, usually brought in, especially if you're a programmer, or God forbid that you're a QA or a tester or something like that. You're brought in as cheap labor, basically, or in this case, in many cases, free labor, and you're basically cannon fodder. They're going to put you on some project where you basically just like they just give you a desk practically, and then they tell you we need this thing built, build it, and then you get the bare minimum of resources and assistance. And that's for those of you who may be taking educations that are based on internships and stuff like that. That's the thing that they don't tell you. The schools don't tell you this, that this happens almost. I mean, I would say it's a 50-50 split at the very least, if I'm being optimistic. And that means that if what this person is describing is a very real scenario where you can find yourself stuck for 2 weeks without being able to progress. And the reason is very simple, because you don't know what to do and there's nobody who has time to help you. Another scenario is, of course, that this person felt so insecure that he or she didn't actually talk to anybody, which is also something that can happen. Uh, what I can tell you is that had you been a software developer, a real unless you are in a company that has a fairly in like lone wolf type of mentality around their software engineering, you would not it would not have been acceptable for you to be stuck on for 2 weeks, because standard practice would mean that you would be forced into a stand up or some other type of situation where people would have asked, where are you right now, how are things going, like there would have been a process to evaluate why you're not progressing. You would not it's at least, I mean, it could have happened for a software engineer as well, but it's very unlikely that you would be able to be stuck for 2 weeks without anybody intervening. And as I said, unless you're in a situation where the company really doesn't give a shit about collaboration or helping their people out, you would have gotten fired for 2 weeks of delays, most likely. In a sane company, you would have had assistance. So what I think that you really have to understand here as the intern is that you can't take failing an internship hard. Don't take it personally. Really don't, because this thing is as much on you as it is on the company itself. The thing is, it's actually really rare. It's extraordinarily rare that interns just make it on their own. Like, usually the interns who are, I mean, if you are extraordinarily gifted, or if you are extraordinarily dedicated to learning software engineering, and you're basically learning all the things in your spare time, you're gonna get screwed. you're going to get screwed bad by most of the companies, because as I said, most of them will not actually give you any help. They will just give you some, as I said, a desk and a computer, if something like that, and then you're on your own for the most part. And if you find yourself in that situation, you just have to ask yourself, is there any other way? Are there any other prospects that I have that could give me a better environment? If that's not the case, well, then you can stick it out and just use that time as best as you can. The thing that it might be hard for you is the emotional stress of the situation, because I can imagine that you're feeling an enormous amount of anxiety because you're not progressing. People might be asking questions and things like that, and you're not meeting expectations, and since you're failing your internship, well, they're probably going to get rid of you because you couldn't cut it yourself. But you have to remember that this is just one company, and there is nothing saying that if you were in an environment where you actually got even the slightest bit of assistance, you wouldn't if you find yourself just getting that little help, you might have actually made it. We will never know, and the company that you're working for will never know, because they're not actually, or whatever the situation is here. I'm just assuming here that you have that they didn't provide any help. But if you didn't ask for any help, then I would take that learning with you into the next company, because that's the thing that you're going to have to answer for yourself. This is one failure in what could potentially be a lifelong career for you. And I can tell you from personal experience, because I have been a failing intern and I know how it feels to be so bad that people are disappointed, and to deal with the anxieties and the stomach aches and the stress and the internal voices. All of that stuff I've gone through together as well. And I can tell you that just because it happens, even if it happens at your first job, that does not mean that it's going to happen in the second one. My story is very similar to this, where the first real internship I had was absolutely horrible. It was the worst job I've ever had, practically. And the second I moved from that environment to the next company, where they actually invested resources in educating me, my entire outlook on my profession changed. Like, everything just changed, and I really truly learned how much of a difference it makes when you're in a good environment and you're in a bad environment. It is the biggest difference that you can imagine. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you fail your internship, don't take it as I'm of course you're going to take it hard. Failure is never fun, but once you get just feel bad about it. Like, just let the emotions flow. Feel shitty, feel horrible, realize that everybody fails, and the only thing that you really have to decide for yourself now is, are you going to stay down or are you going to get back up? And if you get back up, remember that there are other companies out there. There are other positions, other environments, other people who might be a much better fit for you than what these people were. So take the next step and try again and see how it goes. And I promise you, if you keep on living through that process, it might be a very tough process, but at some point you're going to be able to make it. Some of you are going to have to do it a few times before you get so good at software engineering that you can kind of just meet all the expectations or the normal expectations that people are putting on you, and some of you are going to get it on the first try. We're all different, but the only thing that really matters is, are you going to stick by it? That's the only thing that really matters, because it's going to work out for you if you stick by it. I promise you that. Have a great day.